Hey everybody, Christopher Neiman. So, I gotta make an apron for work. We go back to work next week in the Salon. Florida's letting us go back. I'm gonna be draped up like an astronaut. I'm gonna have my apron, I'm gonna have my mask on, I'm gonna have my face shield on. I'm gonna be all ready. My client's gonna have their mask ready. All right, so here's what I'm doing. So I've got this old apron that I had, and what I did was I folded this material here. This is cool because you can use either side. Isn't that cool? So I just folded this old apron I had, put it on the fold of the new fabric, outlined it and cut it out, and then I take it over to the serger and I'm serging it up now. This is why it's so good to have an extension table on the side here, because you can lay all your fabric out and it's not dragging and hanging down. On so many sewing tutorials you see, they don't have any support on the left side of a sewing machine or the serger, and it just hangs and it's dragging and they're trying to hold it up here. Well, having it here is perfect. This flat table surface. This is what I'm talking about. This is just a piece of wood, melamine wood on 2x4s, propped up with little legs on it next to the serger. So when the fabric lays down, it doesn't drag and it allows you to flow easier. It's that simple. It's that simple. Just see, just 2x4 with those little tack-in little leg things you buy for furniture, and that's it. And you've got great work surface with that. So now after serging, what I want to do is I'm going to turn the dark side to the silver side. And I want to do a double hem, so this would be one, and then I want to do twice. And I think they'll give a nice edge. Now, you know, this is an alternative to putting a bias binding around here. So the easiest way to do this that I found, if you watch my shirt making technique video on YouTube here, you'll see I use glue stick. So I'm going to run the glue stick along the edge . And then I'm going to fold it over, and as I fold it over, I'm going to be ironing it. The iron will dry the glue up, it'll put a nice crease in there, and it'll hold in place until I glue it again and then fold it over for the second half of the double fold. See how that holds it nice? And then after I do that the whole length of this one side, then I'll glue this part and I'll fold this over, and then I'll have my second rolled over, and then what I'll do is I will edge stitch this. I'll edge stitch it down then. So now I'll continue to do this all the way down. Just iron this. I had some water on there from when I was steaming this earlier. And I'm just going to glue this like I did to the other one. I mean the first half. And what I'm using for a line is my needle stitch, from the serger is my guide when I fold this over. You know, I was watching Hulu during this pandemic, and currently I'm watching Mrs. America, and the fight between the women about ERA, the happy homemakers and the liberal women. And the funny thing is, you know, that was in the 60s, and I was a kid in the 60s. And all I knew from the 60s was my mother and grandmother worked full-time outside the home, and then they worked full-time inside the home. And I never understood why these women were against women working. And even today on some of the sewing groups, when I watch and listen to some of these old-timer women that are upset, and you still hear them saying, well, you still hear them making comments like, I gotta redo this, I messed this up here. You still hear them making comments like, oh, my husband gifted me with this sewing machine. Oh, my husband did this, my husband did that. And I remember a couple times when I meet people in person and we talk, and I'd say, so what do you do for a living? My husband does this, my husband does that. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, you ladies don't know who you are. And I feel sorry about that. And when I revert back to my mom and my grandmother, they knew who they were. And they did this kind of stuff at home on top of working 40 hours a week outside the home. And when people say to me, when they see everything I do, they say, you are so gifted, Christopher, you're so talented. No, I don't consider this talent. I consider this survival. These are survival skills. And if you are not teaching your sons and daughters survival skills, then you're not doing them a justice. You're doing them an injustice. If you are currently a helicopter mom who does everything for your children, don't teach them how to do anything, when they get out on their own, they're not going to know how to survive on their own. If something happens to you and you die or anything, how are these children going to know how to do anything? Well, there's YouTube, which is the next greatest thing. But no, I don't consider this all talent. I consider this survival. You know, like right now I'm making, this is a apron I'm making for my job in the hair salon. And the backbone of all this comes from my inspiration of doing everything I do comes from my mom and my grandma. Because, like I said, they worked 40 hours a week outside the home, and then they came home and worked 100 hours at home. And I used to watch my mom pull out the sewing machine when she'd get home after midnight from her second shift job. I would sneak out of bed, and I'd watch her sitting at that sewing machine. And on the weekends, whenever my dad would work third shift, after dad left for work, and mom had us kids in our pajamas and had our baths, and we were all ready for bed, you know, the excitement was that, you know, mom let us have a little leeway when dad wasn't home, and she let us have ice cream and what we could have before. But I mean, it's kind of like a little slumber party with just us kids and my mom when my dad went to work. And we could stay up a little bit later, and then mom would be sitting at the kitchen table, and next to the kitchen table was her old sewing machine that, you know, with a cabinet, and she'd be making things. And what she'd love to make most was dresses for the baby Jesus statue. And then mom would do hemming and everything like that. So, survival skills. Okay, so there's the double fold. Look how nice that is. It's so nice that this glue would probably hold it, but not after a washing, because this glue would come after a washing. So later on, I'll take this to the sewing machine and I'll edge stitch that. Grandma used to hem her own aprons. Grandma worked in a foundry. She worked in a foundry melting steel making making these core casts out of sand for the locomotive trains in Pennsylvania. And Grandma used to have to wear aprons all the time. And I remember she had a Kenmore sewing machine, and she'd pull that sewing machine out. It was in a cabinet, and she would mend her aprons. And I remember they were always denim aprons. And it's interesting how much I remember watching my grandmother and my mother doing things around the house. Now the men, they were out doing other things, but honestly, the only thing I remember my grandfather doing was watching football. Yeah, I remember my grandpa. That's all I remember him doing was watching football. And my dad was always working. He was never home. When he was home, he was never in a good mood because he was so tired from always working. But it was the women in our family that did everything. They did everything. So watching this show, which I think I'm on the third episode or second episode. Kate Blanchett plays this Phyllis Shelby, whatever her name is. And then they have the actress that's playing Gloria Steinem. It's really interesting because it's bringing back all these memories when I was growing up in the 60s. And I do remember the housewives in the neighborhood that did not work. And they always had their hair in curlers. And they were always outside standing and talking to each other. And when my mother was outside, she was always hanging laundry up on the line. And these other ladies were always in each other's backyards talking. And I remember they came up to my mother one day and they'd said, "Joanne, how do you do it all? How do you do it all?" And I remember they were, used to come into my mom's house on the weekend, and when my dad wasn't around, and they would say to my mother, "How do you do it? You got it. You have a housekeeper. You're not telling us you have a housekeeper." My mother goes, "No, I don't have a housekeeper. I do everything myself." And you could tell who were the housewives compared to who were the women in the neighborhood that worked. Because the women that worked in the neighborhood didn't have time to stand outside and do nothing all day and chit-chat. And my mother, she couldn't stand outside and chit-chat. She had to work. She had to get her job done. As I said, watching the TV show brought back all those memories. Alright, so that was the first one there. So I just continue to do this. Now, on the corners here, I'm going to trim this off a little bit. Let me get my scissors. Where are my scissors here? I'm going to trim this off a little bit so there's not so much bulk. There we go. And then you're just going to double fold that there like that. Oh, maybe you didn't see that. I'm sorry. On the corner here, I just trimmed on an angle there so it wouldn't be so much bulk. There we go. Isn't that nice? This is a stretched denim, believe it or not. A stretched metallic denim. I always thought this was so cool. I bought this years ago at Walmart. And they had some other denim that wasn't stretched. And I thought I had more in the house somewhere. I'm going to have to start tearing out my fabric bins and start looking. Because I thought I had some more of this. This was really cool fabric. I remember when I was flying around teaching across the country, and I used to go to I would fly into a layover I'd have in Atlanta, and all the black men that were in the airport that were flying and stuff, they were always dressed with the latest, coolest. I mean, they had all this embroidery on their jeans. They had all this embroidery on their shirts. And I never seen that much embroidery in gold and stuff and cool like that. I was like, wow, these dudes in Atlanta, man, they really know how to dress. And they had the black shiny denim like this with embroidery on it and stuff. And I kept thinking to myself, that is the coolest. And looking at their shirts, they wore these really nice shirts on the outside. They hung outside. And they had all this beautiful embroidery where the whole back of the shirt was nothing but embroidery. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to move to Atlanta just for the fashion alone. All right, so I'm going to finish this up around the rest of the rest of this apron. Do it over here. Finish all the way around. And then I will do an edge stitch at the sewing machine next after this. Alrighty, so I just finished double folding the apron. Okay, now I need to edge stitch all along here. So what I'm going to use is my straight stitch foot. Okay, I'm going to use a straight stitch foot, and that's going to edge stitch. The way I use that is, let me zoom this in so you can see better. Alright. Now I did a video on a straight stitch foot on my Singer 401A, so you can watch that one too. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ride the edge of the fold right in the split of this foot. So it's going to edge stitch and lay that down and look really, really nice, right? Alright, so let me do a practice piece here. Always do a practice session first, everyone, before you do the real thing. You're going to save yourself a lot of problems. Now, because this is thicker fabric that I'm going to be sewing on, you want to increase your stitch length to 3.5. So try a 3.5. So I'm just going to, just to test, let's pretend this is what I'm going to be doing here. So now I'm going to run this fabric right on the edge split of that foot, right in the center. And then I'm going to just follow that. Let me position myself in the center of the sewing machine so I can sew even. I'm going to move this camera to the other side when I do this so my hand's not in the way, because I do need to have proper positioning when I do this. Or maybe you can see this okay. Let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty wobbly on this right now. So just let me stay here. Alright, let's see. Yeah, that's better. So you can see where you're going to edge stitch that. And then if you have matching color thread, if it's a little wobbly, it's not going to matter. So I'm just going to keep the camera right there. Alright, let me start on this side over here. I'm not going to start right on this hump. I'm going to come around that in the corner. What I would like to do, though, seriously, the way since I'm right-handed, I'd love to sew it this way, which means all my fabric is going to be to the right side of me. So what I think I'm going to do, let me see here. Yeah, see the fabric, I like the fabric to the right side because that's just the way I am with this. But let's see if I can do it this way. Alright, I'll just do it this way because I want you guys to see this. This really doesn't matter if I goof up a little bit because it's just for me in the salon. But whenever you do sew, you do want to do the best job you can. Now this is already folded over and glued, so I won't have to fold the fabric and be wobbly. This will be a lot more centered. So here we go. I'm just using regular sewing thread. I'm not using anything, I'm not using top stitch thread. I'm just using regular sewing thread. So as you can see, I'm keeping that seam, the edge of that seam, right in the center of that split of the foot. Now let's see how well I'm doing. Oh yeah, that looks good. That's like what they call stitch in the ditch. That's catching right on the edge there. That is good. That looks really good. I sure do like that. All right. Now, I do want to tell you that when you use the straight stitch foot, before you start sewing, make sure your needle is in a center needle position. Ask me how I know that. The first time I did that, oh my God. I was using different stitch. Oh, I know, my needle position was in the far right for a different... oh, I know what it was. It was my one Janome machine. Every time you turn it on, it would automatically revert to the left side. The needle would go to the left side. And I forgot to change that, to move that. And when I put the straight stitch foot on and I went to sew, not realizing my needle was to the left, crank, crunch, bang. So, yeah. This is going to be nice. So I was working outside today. I live in a 1950s home that I'm redoing, and I'm replacing all the fascia around the house. Because when they put this fascia on some of these houses, people use the cheapest stuff sometimes, and they just use regular wood. Well, I bought this new wood at the home improvement store. It's a composite that's guaranteed to last, I think it said 50 years. It's supposed to be mildew-free, mold-free, insect repellent, termite repellent. Anyway, so the fascia that's up there now, it's just disintegrating. So I'm up there and I'm taking it down and everything, and all of a sudden I noticed ahead of me as I was coming down a swarm of wasps, and I realized there was a hornet's nest over there. I wasn't all that close, but I guess I was too close for their comfort. One came shooting at me like a fighter jet. Got me right in the face. Oh, for such a little thing, that sucker hurt. So yeah, I was working outside and I forgot to clean my nails again. Sorry, ladies. Sorry. Video's free. The video is free, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go around the whole apron and sew that. And look how nice that's coming out. Look how beautiful that is. And then there's, on the front side, it's blended in with the color of the fabric in the front. Okay, so I'm going to finish this. You don't have to watch me do the whole thing. You get the idea now. And then I'm going to put the straps on. So I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so here it is after I sewed it at the machine. You can see how beautiful all the stitching is. Come on, really good. Really, really nice. Real impressed with it. Alright, so now I've got to put some straps on. So my old one, you can see right here, has these plastic clasps. So I dug into my stash and I found these D-rings and these hooks. And then I dug into my other drawer stash and I found a roll of this webbing. So this webbing will fit on my D-rings. And then I found this. So that'll work really nice. The D-rings will get attached to, with a piece of webbing will get attached to each end here, just like this one did. So I'm going to attach all that, and then I'll show you the finished result. Okay, so the apron is done. So here you can see I folded it over, sewed it each side, and then the straps on this side, I put a piece behind and sewed it there, and there it is. Now I have a new apron to wear in the salon. Then I was thinking maybe I'll embroider it on here. Maybe I'll embroider my logo on here. I don't know. I'll think about it. Let me know what you think. This is this is one of my dust covers for my luxury leather bags. I have to turn it right side out though. This is inside out right now. I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'll put my logo on my apron. What do you think? Maybe? It sure would look nice for the salon, right? Anyway, let me know what you think below this video. Give me a comment. Be sure to subscribe. Hit the notification button so when I do more videos, you'll be notified. And so, yeah, this is like dog hardware. But you know what? I used what I had, right? You use what you have. And that I got a long time ago. I got a couple rolls of that webbing. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Take care, I'll talk to you next time. Bye, stay safe, wear your masks. Stay safe everyone, please, stay safe. Respect other people's lives and respect your own. Wear your mask, stay 6 feet away in the grocery store. Don't rip somebody's butt without a mask on. Respect other people's lives and respect your own. Okay, take care, I love you, bye.